feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
Welcome to our Total Apex special March Madness bracket. I'm here. I'm Brandon Ellis. I'm the host of this special tonight. I got my guys, Jacob, Paranine, and Jerry Harkins. What's up, fellas?
What's up? Ready to do this? Selection Sunday, baby. Best time of the year.
I got these guys because they've been on top of the college basketball season for Total Apex Sports all year long. And so I'm going to go ahead and get started with the first four, mainly with the 11 seeds. The last four teams in were Texas and NC State. They're going to be matched up on Tuesday night. And Miami, Ohio, and SMU are the other two teams that were the last four in. They're going to be matched up on Wednesday night, along with a couple of 16 16v16 matchups to get into the Midwest and the South regions. As we get into the deeper parts of the bracket. So, Jacob, I'm going to give you the first shout here. Which first four matchups of the 11s do you look forward to the most?
I would probably say Miami of Ohio and SMU because, Miami of Ohio, they lost their first game of the season in their very first round in their conference tournament. So I'm looking forward to them playing against SMU, who is a pretty underrated team. Honestly, they've had I know ACC can be a bit of a tough conference, especially this season. So they've been able to really carve out a really nice season. I feel like just the narrative and the story surrounding that, like Miami, Ohio has a chance to get into the tournament and, maybe make some noise. So I feel like that is definitely the most intriguing matchup.
Jerry, I'll give you that same question real quick before we actually get started in the breakdown.
I'm really looking forward to that Texas-NC State matchup. NC State had that terrific Final Four run a couple years ago, when they made it down there to face Purdue in the Final Four. And I think that's a very intriguing matchup. And the committee definitely was using the wins above bubble, the WAB, for this tournament selection this year. I will say that. So that's a big reason why, Miami, they weren't even a bubble pick because, they had that wins above the bubble. We'll get into the quad ones and quad two win stuff later, but, I'm really excited about that Texas-North Carolina State matchup for the first four.
Yeah, that's a really good matchup in the first four. I'm going to say the Miami-Ohio story is probably the most intriguing matchup, and that's why it's in the Wednesday slot, more so the Tuesday slot, because a lot of people like to watch the Wednesday slot more of their first four. So it's a good story for Miami, Ohio, but the better game is probably going to be Texas and NC State. I feel like because both teams are well matched up well. Will Wade has experience in the tournament, and I think it's Chris Beard still at Texas. I might be wrong on that, but
it's Sean Miller. Sean
Miller. I knew it was one of those coaches
Sean Miller
that had off the court stuff, but yeah, Sean Miller, who is really a good coach too. So it's an interesting dynamic with those teams, with Texas and NC State. First year for Will Wade and everything like that. Has his NC State's ups and downs and everything like that, and they're still in the tournament. I would pick Texas and then Miami, Ohio to get out of those games. I personally think SMU can give Miami, Ohio problems, especially defense, like Miami Ohio's defense, but I think Miami Ohio's offense can also get SMU problems. So
I also think they're going to be a little bit more motivated because they just lost their, undefeated season. So, might as well try and get into the NCAA tournament and make some noise.
All right. So let's get to the breakdown of the actual East. Let's start with the East region. So we got the number one overall seed, Duke, against Siena. This is Duke all the way here, but I'll let you guys go here first. I'll start with Jacob.
Well, I saw that Duke opened up as like a 30.5 point favorite, so I feel like that's just a layup for them. I think when I look at the games here, the most intriguing game out of the first round, especially like so far on the screen, it's definitely Ohio State and TCU, just because both teams have been red hot to end the season, especially TCU. I think, they almost upset Kansas in the tournament, in the Big 12 tournament, and they've been I think they were like on an 8 or 9 game win streak heading into the Big 12 tournament. So they've just been on a heater. I think they could potentially, I don't know if they'll beat Duke, either Ohio State or TCU, but I think they'll definitely give them a run for their money.
Yeah.
I think whole part of the bracket until they meet in the Sweet 16 against Duke. So I feel like that part of the bracket favors them. And then obviously, we go down the line. I don't really see too many Cinderellas in this part of the bracket.
No, I mean, I could give one that is a possible one. That South Florida team that just won the American today.
Mm-hmm.
Watch out for them for a slight run, because they're a very talented team down there.
Yeah.
The Bulls, and also they could give Louisville fits. Louisville has had some ups and downs this season, so I would watch that 6-11 matchup personally myself. Jerry, bounce off that real quick for me.
The main thing I'm looking for in the East region is that I'm looking at that 7-10 matchup between UCLA and UCF, because UCLA just lost their big man and Donovan Dent. He got hurt in the Big Ten tournament, so I'm really anxious to see if Dent's going to be ready to go. How's he feeling? And I'm not sure if the big man. I'm not for sure how to pronounce his last name, so I'm not going to say it. I don't want to know.
Yeah,
but I'm really eager to see how healthy that UCLA team's going to be against UCF, man, because that could be an upset bid right there in round one.
Yeah.
And if we could go down just a little bit so we can see the rest of the bracket.
Yeah, scroll down for us.
Yeah, just a little bit. All right. Yeah.
We got UConn and I think that's
Furman. Yeah.
Furman. Yeah, there we go.
I think that's the UConn Furman matchup, which that matchup is offensive centric. But I think UConn
that's going to be a high scoring game right there.
Mm-hmm. That matchup's offense centric right there between those two. Like I said, 6-11. That's the one for me. I look at that's the Cinderella potential in this bracket, but not too much of a Cinderella, because they'll the Michigan State should handle either one of those 6-11 or Louisville or South Florida if they beat North Carolina.
Can I jump in with like my own kind of Cinderella? So
Yeah.
I think if Dent is able to come back and be healthy for UCLA, even though they lost their big man whose name nobody can pronounce here.
Yeah.
I feel like they have the potential just because, and I think it's between UCLA and South Florida. And I think South Florida is definitely a Sweet 16 contender just because even though Michigan State is good, I feel like they sort of had an up and down season, and Izzo hasn't really been the same kind of Izzo the last several years when it comes to March. So I definitely would look out for either UCLA or South Florida.
Yeah, I feel the same way with those two. Before we move on to the South region, is there any other? What do we think about Duke and Caleb Foster? Real quick, does that injury impact Duke? Moving forward,
I would say, if I want to jump in real quick, I would say not as much, just because Caden Boozer has done a good job filling in for him.
Yeah.
I feel like now that they're getting Gungba back, I think that's definitely the more key player for them.
Yeah.
So getting him back, I don't think, although the Foster injury hurts because he's such a stable point guard, I just think, the injuries we saw in the ACC tournament didn't really slow him down too much. Yeah.
It really didn't, other than the Virginia game where it got a little close there last night when Duke won the ACC championship.
But then then Duke can just turn on their number one ranked defense and just we'll put Malik Brown out there instead of Gungba, and it literally didn't change too much on the defensive end because he's the guy that comes off the bench and won defensive player of the year. Who does that?
Yeah.
Heck yeah. I also, the Cal Baptist Kansas game, I want to throw this in there, right? Because I think Cal Baptist has got a real good shot to stick with Kansas, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they're both shooting around 45%, lower 40%, and they're also hitting the three at a good rate between like 30-35% as well. So I'm thinking that Cal Baptist Kansas game could be another upset watching. You know what I'm just saying?
Yeah. Because you never know with Kansas this year. They're one of those another up and down teams like that. So go ahead, Jake.
Piggyback off of you guys, I watch the Big 12 all the time because I'm an Arizona guy. But the way Kansas has played with Darren Peterson versus without him is like a night and day difference. I think they have like a 10-2 record without him this season. So, and it feels like although Peterson provides a lot of lift to the offense because of his shot making abilities, he really, I think he oftentimes hunts his shot too much. To the point where it's a detriment to everybody else on offense. And I don't think he's the same level of defender as somebody like Trey White is who was the other guy? I think it was McDowell who comes in off the bench. He filled in for him when he was
I believe so.
So I think he really helps improve their defense, and I just don't think they're the same kind of team with Darren Peterson out there.
And then Cal Baptist is one of I was watching the highlights of that game the other day. That Cal Baptist team is a really underrated team. So
they surprised me that they were a 13 seed, to be honest. I thought they maybe
definitely up there with a lot of the other teams in this entire bracket.
Yeah. So let's get to the South region. The South region is an interesting perspective because it's Florida versus the one of the first four matchups that I mentioned earlier, Lehigh and Prairie View, A&M. Florida should handle that. No problem, even though they just had to slip up in the semis against Vanderbilt in the SEC tournament. The 16 seed ain't gonna give them a problem here. Their front court is just too strong. But the one thing in this bracket we could see is another Florida Vanderbilt rematch, and that would be an interesting game for the Florida Gamers to get some revenge for knocking them out in the SEC tournament. Also, you got Nebraska as a 4 in this against Troy. Nebraska and Fred Hoiberg better watch out for the Trojans. As a JMU guy, as a Sun Belt guy, that Troy team is really stout. So
really good.
They're really good Troy team. They've won the Sun Belt the last 2 years. The representative of the Sun Belt, which Kenny Gill is the tournament, which is the Sun Belt commissioner, is also one of the guys on the committee for the tournament. Shout out to him. He did a really good job and everything. So with this bracket, another matchup is at 6-11, North Carolina without Caleb Wilson versus VCU. Jacob, I'm gonna let you start with North Carolina and VCU.
I'm heading up to Greenville to watch North Carolina and VCU, so that'll be an interesting game. I feel like for North Carolina, the key for the game against VCU is going to have to be Seth Trimble. If he can play at a high level and score at least 15 points, but also can just be an effective offensive player, because I really think with the Caleb Wilson injury, they have to lean a lot more on Trimble to really produce an offense. Yeah. And I feel like if he goes in that game, has a good game, I think they have a fair shot at winning it. VCU has a pretty underrated defense. I think they're top 30 in the nation in defensive rating. Yep. So I feel like I'm going to lean a little bit towards North Carolina, but if VCU wins, I would not be shocked.
Yeah, I would not be shocked either. Jerry, give me another matchup that I just wanted to highlight at North Carolina VCU with Jacob, because he's a Duke. We're both ACC guys, but I'll let you go with the Illinois Penn matchup real quick. Let's start with that.
I was also going to say the Clemson Iowa matchup, another Big Ten team. Iowa, that's another game I'm looking for because they match up pretty well. They're both shooting around. Iowa's a little bit better. They're shooting almost 50% from the field right now. They didn't do so well in the Big Ten tournament, you know what I mean? But I feel that's another game that can really match up well with each other. And then another game, like you said, was the Illinois game with Keaton Wagler. That dude, he is a young stud, a freshman. He is a true freshman phenom. But Penn, they also got a good squad. You know what I'm saying? They just won their tournament. They're on a hot roll right now.
Yeah, so they won the tournament. They won their tournament in an interesting way. They hit the shot from the wing to tie, which Yale almost made it from full court.
It was crazy, right?
Hit back iron. They get it to overtime. Then Penn won it over. That was probably
True March Madness fashion, baby.
Yes.
And
real
yeah, if I want to
March.
jump in real quick,
Yeah,
those
go ahead.
Ivy League schools are tough, man.
Yeah.
Even though nobody really watches them, every time they get into the tournament, at least one always wins.
Yeah.
At least one game. So I feel like definitely on an upset alert over there.
Can we go back to that South region and just highlight the 2 seed real quick in that region? Miss Technical Producer Molly.
Our producer, please.
Scroll down to the 2 line because that is a yes. Houston, Idaho is going to be.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be Houston. Is going to be a sneaky team in this region, and we could get a rematch in the national championship in the Elite 8 from last year with Florida. So
I feel like if I were to look at this region and I were to think about a potential Cinderella,
go
I
ahead.
think
Molly.
I think VCU, because of that 6-11 matchup, definitely favors them a little bit more. And I would also say, even though I know Jerry is a Big Ten guy, I would say Troy, Nebraska. I would say Troy is definitely an underrated team that could definitely go far. And, I'm going to add one more in there because for fun.
Yeah.
McNeese, just because, they're in the NCAA
I love
tournament
McNeese.
yet again. So you have a coach that's been there time and time again.
Amir Khan.
I feel like they're an underrated team and potentially a Sweet 16 team at best.
Amir Khan as well. The boombox is back.
Yeah.
With McNeese.
Guys, I'm really. If it comes out to play a Houston Illinois matchup in the Sweet 16, that could be a very intriguing matchup right there. Houston, they got 4 players hitting 30% or better behind the threes, and with Illinois and Keaton Wagler, that would be a really good matchup if it gets down to the Sweet 16.
Yeah,
all right.
I would love to see Flemings versus Wagler.
That's gonna be
that would be a great game.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, because they both play so similarly. They're both like fast paced, and they get to create their own shot at will. I would love to see that.
I'm not for sure how many points Keaton Wagler put up against Purdue in this regular season, but I think he set the freshman record for a freshman coming into Mackey.
It was like
and he set a record
something points. I know
that.
Like
he went off against that defense.
Yeah.
All right, so we're just gonna keep talking about the South region a little bit while Molly shifts over to the other side of the bracket real quick. I love what y'all have been talking about with those potential matchups, but another one for me is if VCU can go make a run again like they did with Shaka Smart. That could be an interesting little Cinderella run there with that VCU team. Now they're not the same team as the 2011 team because they don't play the same style as that Shaka Smart team. But like Jacob brought up earlier, their defense is one really underrated. Like he said, top 30.
Yeah.
So that could be interesting for everybody.
Funny fact about VCU, the Colts just re-signed Mo Alley Coxon. He's a former VCU basketball player.
Yeah.
Yes. Former Ram. All right, now we're in the rest region. Another Jacob's realm, the Arizona Wildcats.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, I got.
Yeah, we opened up as a 30.5-point favorite, so I'm not worried about the Long Island.
Yeah. So we got. So ESPN just brought up the question on their bracketology show. Shout out ESPN. Shout out all the guys there. They brought up the question: can a team from the West win the Natty? And I think this Arizona team can be the first time since Arizona did it in 1997 to win from the West. Jacob, I'll let you start with that. Do you think how you like your Wildcats' chances to win?
I think it's definitely a favorable side of the bracket until we get to the Sweet 16. In all likelihood, we will play Wisconsin, which I'm terrified about because I
should be, brother.
Long-standing PTSD from 2014 and 15. So I'm just worried about that one. Look, I feel like because I've been talking to a lot of Arizona fans, especially since the bracket came out. I think if we are able to play Wisconsin and we beat them, I think we're going all the way to the national championship game. Just because our side of the bracket is so favorable, and I mean, there's not really any other team in there that matches us in any sort of way. I mean, we got great guard play with Burries and Bradley. Who else can really match up against that except Wisconsin? But then we also have great big man play with Krivas, Pete, and Awaka coming off the bench. So we're just stacked in almost every single position. So it's hard for any team to match up. And then if you watch the Big 12 tournament, we won in a variety of different ways. Like the Iowa State game was just a barn burner. You know, it was just a freaking physical offensive game, and we just kept right pace with Iowa State the entire game, and then Bradley hit the game-winning shot. And then Houston was the same exact one. We went up by at least 15 in the second half, and then they went on a 14-0 run and cut it down to 1, and we were just able to pull it out because our rebounding is just excellent, and our defense knows, you know, when to attack and when to, and our offense hits. We hit good shots. We know how to make plays on both ends of the floor to win.
Yep, I agree with that. The only thing I'll counter with, Arkansas has a real good chance to ruin that Wisconsin matchup real quick with Darius Jr. So Darius Acuff Jr.
I think Darius Acuff will probably single-handedly get Arkansas and get to the Sweet 16. Although I wouldn't bet against Wisconsin because Nick Boyd is really good too.
No, they are.
Yeah.
The Wisconsin
and
team
Blackwell. You can't forget about Blackwell.
Yeah, Blackwell too.
He's a hell of a player too, man.
Yeah. So I just wanted to point out that don't sell Arkansas short in this conversation.
Absolutely not.
Even though I can't stand John Calipari as a coach, he still is one of the best to ever do it. I will say that.
Yeah. So Jerry, continue on with this region. This is where that NC State and Texas first four will fall into against BYU.
And this is also where my Boilermakers are definitely in here in the same region as the Arizona Wildcats.
Boilermakers. The fact that you made a run to win the Big Ten.
And then also my boy Braden Smith is only one assist away from tying Mr. Bob Hurley for that assist record. Shout out to my boy Braden.
Shout out to him, man. That's impressive.
That would be.
I want to start off by saying I think this is, I'm gonna agree with Jacob, is the easiest cider of the bracket this year with on the west side, because saying simply the fact that I see that it could potentially be Purdue versus Arizona in a Elite Eight matchup, and I am really looking forward to that. I mean, not Elite Eight, but a Final Four matchup, and that could be. Elite Eight. I'm sorry, I'm getting confused. I'm talking too much. But I think that could be good. And then I'm also looking at this Miami-Missouri game. This also has got me intrigued, too, because I think those two teams match up well against each other. Yep. And so I'm looking at that matchup. But I think that it's going to be a tough test if Purdue gets to the Sweet 16 because they can face a team like North Carolina State or Gonzaga, where we've had a little bit of trouble with the Mark Few teams, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So Gonzaga is one of those in the like. That's the thing. If you face NC State, I think you're favored. But if you face Gonzaga or BYU, I think BYU gives y'all trouble, Jerry. And I think Gonzaga.
Yeah, they do because those bigger guards. You know what I mean? Because I've been saying, telling my dad, I was thinking,
well, you have no wings to match up against Devonta. These two big and lanky are all your wings.
Yeah. So if you face BYU, that's your defense is going to have a hard time with him because.
Can I jump in real quick with my? I think the Cinderellas are on this side of the bracket because you have Florida, Miami, Florida, and then BYU. I think those are my two picks for potential Cinderellas, especially in this region, just because Miami had an underrated season. I'm surprised they ended up with a 7th seed because they had such a great season in the ACC. They had a tough schedule, and Jay Lucas has been an absolute great hire for them. And I feel like Purdue. I like Purdue. I feel like they go as far as Braden Smith will take them. So if Smith plays well and they play up against Miami, I think they have a good chance to advance. And then on the other side, BYU, they've been underrated, even though losing Saunders definitely hurt their chances at making a potential Final Four run in this tournament and a potential Big 12 championship. Exactly. I think the way they've been playing without him, because you still have Keita, who's one of the best rim protectors in the entire country. You have AJ Devonta, who's going to be the number 1 overall pick. He has been an absolute stud since the tournaments have started. And so I feel like he's going to show out.
He broke Devonta broke KD's record.
Yeah, he broke KD's record in the Big 12 tournament. So I feel like it's definitely between those two teams when you look at it.
1,000%. As Cinderella's 1,000%. Now, if you
Yeah.
want a double-digit seed in this region, if for me, I think the first four, if it is Texas, could give BYU a little bit of issues without Richie, especially without Saunders. Texas could give them a little bit of issues. Hawaii is an interesting one because Arkansas doesn't play that many players, and they just rely on Acuff a lot. So Hawaii could be an interesting game for Arkansas in that way.
And I think Mizzou too, actually, because of their rebounding. I think they're top 20 in the entire nation in rebounding.
Yeah.
And they're just a physical team, and I think that'll be a tough test for Miami in the first round for sure.
Yeah, for sure. That 7-10 was probably my favorite matchup in this one because what Miami's done in that short turnaround and Missouri fighting their way into this tournament as a 10 seed has been impressive. So, with that being said, I think we're going to move on to the Midwest region and probably my favorite region they did in this tournament, how it breaks down once we get to it. Because Michigan's your one, but Michigan, lost the Big Ten just a little bit ago to Purdue.
Yeah.
So they're vulnerable a little bit. And I think also there's an injury there too. They reported on. I think Jerry can give us the insight on that a little bit. But look at the 1-9 matchup, or potential 1 versus 8-9, either Georgia or St. Louis. Especially St. Louis or Robbie Avila. Give me St. Louis could be an interesting team if they win that game against Georgia, against Michigan. I like the St. Louis as a 9 in this part. Also, Alabama and Hofstra is going to be a high scoring game. Beating Class and getting Hofstra back to the tournament is a good shout out to them. Texas Tech without JT Toppin as well versus Akron, the MAC tournament champion. And then also in this region too, the Miami, Ohio potential play-in against Tennessee. Rick Barnes,
30-1 Miami, Ohio.
Yeah, 30-1 Miami, Ohio.
Crazy. No quad 1 wins though, but
no quad 1. No quad 1. But Jerry, I'll let you go in the Michigan side of things and give us the update on the injuries.
So in the Big Ten tournament today, there was actually a couple different injuries today. TKR on Purdue's side, he actually had a shoulder stinger, and I'm not for sure who it was on Michigan because he came back in, but it was their star player. I forget his name. I'm having a brain fog right now. But their star player. What was that, Jacob?
Marquez Brown Jr. or whatever his name is?
No, it was the other one, the bigger guy. Yetzelberg. He had like a little ankle thing. He slipped on the floor with Fletcher Lawyer. So he's dealing with a little bit of an ankle soreness too. But those are the two injuries that happened today.
Well, they're already missing a key guy. I forget what his name is. He came off the bench. He was a freshman. He was great for them. He's out for the year with the ACL. So I think that's a factor too. And especially a factor why they lost against Purdue. They didn't get much bench scoring.
Yeah, big time.
And also Purdue has stepped up their defense tremendously. They're playing defense like they was at the beginning of the season again. That's definitely a big contributing factor to why Purdue won the Big Ten tournament championship today.
Yeah, 1,000%. So that's the thing too with this side of the bracket is what I call the teams with chances as Cinderellas on this side, because Akron against Texas Tech without JT Toppin. Hofstra and Alabama, you never know what's going to happen between those two elite offenses.
Yeah.
Especially Alabama.
I want to jump in on the Texas Tech part, too. Christian Anderson also went down in their loss against
Iowa State.
Iowa State, against their loss in Iowa State. He had a groin strain. So if he's limited in any way, I think Akron has a huge shot.
Yeah. And then you got your Tennessee, potential Miami, Ohio, SMU. I would say Miami, Ohio. If Miami, Ohio makes it against Tennessee, that could be interesting game. How Rick Barnes plays that, but there it is. There's my potential runner here. Number 3 seed Virginia. They just played the number 1 overall seed to a 4-point game in the ACC championship. They could ruin a lot of brackets If they
Yes.
if it is chalk. If it is
Virginia's a
chalk,
sleeper team, man. I'm telling you.
yeah, that UVA team can ruin some brackets. Ryan Odom has done a great job with that UVA team in his first year.
And they
So-
play defense good too, man.
Look,
Yep.
they're top. They got a top 15 defense, and it's because of Onyesu, man. He blocks every single shot that comes to the freaking rim.
He
Yeah.
does not play, man.
No, he
Yeah.
does not.
And I
I'm
shouted them out a while ago. I
Santa
shouted
Clara is a
UVA.
team to watch too, guys.
Oh yes, they are. They are. Kentucky might be in trouble. They
I'm
might
telling
be
you.
in trouble. Santa Clara is one of those teams that could.
Well, they've been in
sneak up.
trouble all season, man. So I
Yeah.
feel like Santa Clara is definitely should be favored in that matchup, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
For sure. Nolan. Speaking of first year head coaches, that Tennessee State is another former Dookie head coach, Nolan Smith. So, and shout out Nolan Smith and getting his team in the tournament for the first time. But Iowa State is just a buzzsaw.
Oh, yeah.
They're gonna win that game. But congrats to Tennessee State for making it. But like I said, UVA is my pick. Actually, I might go ahead and pick them. I might go ahead and spoil. Yeah, don't worry about it, Molly. Just don't worry about it. Yeah. Just keep it away. I saw it.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
But I might spoil one of my Final Four picks here before we get to it. I think UVA is gonna win this region.
Wow.
I think
Okay.
UVA is going to win this region.
All
I
right.
like what they have done, and everything like that. And I just don't know about Michigan. I have to. It's a wait and see for me after they lost today to Purdue.
There was a
Well,
lot of things seen about Michigan today in that Big Ten championship game.
And
there was a lot of things seen in that Wisconsin game too. I think they're a strong team, but they're a very vulnerable team in certain aspects because I think if Mara gets into foul trouble, their bench is significantly more undersized. Like they don't
they drop down. Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as he gets in that rim open, that paint opens wide up for people, man.
Yep. And then my thing with UVA, they can do similar things so that Duke team did to them a little bit from the outside and everything like that. So I just think UVA gives them a good shout. Also Iowa State. So either I'm going to go out on a limb and pick UVA to get out of the region here, but I think Iowa State also has a great shot to get out of this region.
Yeah, I agree.
So with that being said, that is the breakdown of each region. We're now going to go into the in-depth, get into our Final Four picks and our eventual national championship picks. So I'm gonna let Jacob start with his.
All right. I think mine is pretty straightforward. It's pretty much the 3 number 1 seeds. We got Arizona, Duke. Actually, no, it was 2 number 1 seeds. It's the top 2 seeds mostly in the Final Four for me. I had Arizona, Duke, Iowa State, and Houston. I got 3 Big 12 teams in there, and I got Iowa State in there for a reason because I think definitely against us in the semifinals in the Big 12 tournament, they showed a lot. Especially when I forget it, I can't pronounce his name, the sharpshooter for Iowa State, Nikola Silovic or something like that. When he gets hot, watch out. So, and I feel like they're shooting, and I think their defense, they're a physical defense, and they rank, I forget where they ranked this season. I think it was top 9 in defensive rating. They're one of the best defenses in the country, and I just think the way TJ Alsoberger has them playing right now is just on another level. I feel like they'll make a deep tournament run all the way to the Final Four. And then Houston, obviously, another Big 12 team that I'm going to put in there. I think this will be the Kingston Flemings Invitational. I feel like he's going to have a march to remember for Houston. And I think Houston, even though they're not, I don't think they're nearly as good as their team last year because, you don't have Juwan Roberts anymore. But I feel like their 3-guard lineup with Uzin, Sharp, and Flemings, I feel like they're just gonna have a great March Madness, and I feel like they're gonna get out of their bracket side. And then Arizona, obviously, and Duke. So I don't need to go too much detail about those guys. And then for my national championship, I think it's going to be Arizona and Duke. I feel like these guys are on a collision course for one another. Come on, it has to be these 2 teams because they have just been the two best teams all season. Like I know Michigan fans might argue it might be the Wolverines would be in there, but
Yeah.
I feel like after Duke beat them, it was clearly Arizona and clearly Duke, and I feel like Arizona is going to pull it out. I just think the reason I feel that way about it is because this Arizona team has a mixture of great leadership with the upperclassmen, because I think they'll go as far as Bradley will take on. I think it's going to be a great tournament run for Bradley. I just feel like, and then the reason I pick them over Duke is because the size difference. I just don't think Duke matches up well with their size, and not any other team really in this tournament matches up with their size and rebounding abilities. So I think Arizona wins.
Nice. Jerry, this is the Final Four is in your city, Indianapolis.
It's in the Nat town, guys. It
is in Indy. So go ahead and give me your shout out here for your Final Four and
all right,
your
I'm going to start off with the East. Out of the East, I'm taking the Duke Blue Devils. I think they got a very good region. I think with what they have to come off with, they really don't have too many teams to worry about because of how well-rounded they are as a unit. So I'm taking Duke out of the East. And then I'm going to go ahead down here to the South region. And out of the South region, I am going to be taking Houston out of the South region because I just feel that the way they play defense and how well offensive they play, they're just a team. I think Florida might give them a little bit of a run, but I'm still taking Houston out.
Okay, I jump in on that real quick. There's another thing about the South region. So if they get Houston gets to the Sweet 16, the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 games are all in Houston at the Toyota Center. So home court advantage pretty much. So that's why I also kind of picked them. So Jerry, you can continue on that.
And then over in the Midwest, I'm going to be taking Iowa State. I love Iowa State. When they played Purdue earlier, they ran them off the court. They run the court so well. They play extremely high efficient defense. Yeah. So I'm taking them out of the Midwest, and then I'm taking Purdue out of the West.
I know you're going to go.
I feel a lot of people are writing them off. A lot of people forget that they were the preseason #1 coming into this season. They have three very talented seniors on this team: Braden Smith, Fletcher Loyer, TKR, who have played all 4 years together. They have extremely good leadership. They are coached extremely well with P.J. Thompson coaching that offense, and the way Matt Painter dials up that defense, and he has been dialing in that defense the last 4 games, the way they've been playing. I mean, they shut down the #2 seed in the Big Ten tournament, Nebraska. I believe they beat them by almost 20 points. They ran them off the court. In the last 4 games, they've been playing extremely well. And another thing, Braden Smith has had that assist record on his mind, and he's going to get that out the first 4 minutes of the game in the first round. So that's going to be on the back burner after that. And I think Braden Smith's just going to take off after that. And I think Matt Painter gets his first national championship in 2026.
Okay. So you got Purdue winning it all. Okay. In Indianapolis.
All right.
Okay. You got from the Duke Houston side. You got Houston in the game against Purdue?
Yeah, Houston in the game with Purdue.
Okay. So that's cool. I think all right. Now we have arrived at mine. So I already gave one of mine, which was UVA. As a dark horse, I like to have a dark horse in these picks to make it to a Final Four. Ever since UConn in their run, I like to imagine of a dark horse, and I think UVA is going to be that dark horse pick for me this year. They have similar vibes to that UConn team a little bit, even though they didn't win the ACC and Duke's so dominant. So I got UVA coming out of the Midwest. I got Arizona coming out of the West. Arizona is just too powerful. I think I like your Braden Smith. I like the dream, Jerry. I like the dream, but Arizona team from top to bottom is strong.
Arizona's a great team.
Yeah. So from top to bottom, they're too strong. The South region, the home court advantage point is a strong point, and I'm going to go with the Houston Cougars in that region. I can't see that Florida overcoming the home court to go back to back. It's possible. I love the front court of Florida, but the guard play is sways heavily in Houston in that potential
Yeah, I think
matchup.
Florida is the only front court team that I think matches up with Arizona, but I just don't think they've had really inconsistent guard play. You saw
Yeah.
that in the SEC
It's been
tournament.
so up and down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm just like, and guard play really determines who wins March Madness. So
Yeah.
I agree with the Houston pick.
So the Houston pick that's my South representative in the Final Four.
Yeah,
And I got the Duke Blue Devils winning the East. That is obvious. We have a similar thought process here. I could see UConn giving Duke an interesting game in an Elite Eight if they ended up matching up in the Elite Eight. The Huskies, and because Dan Hurley is such a phenomenal coach, and John Shire is also a phenomenal coach too. But there was those moments last year with Cooper Flagg and late clutch situations that Hurley would probably. In this situation, attack. But I think Duke is just too strong for UConn in that.
Can I jump in on the UConn thing? I don't think like if Duke matches up with UConn, I don't think it goes well for UConn. I think it's an interesting matchup. I just don't think it'll go well just because when you saw UConn play against St. John's this year 3 times, they lost twice. And the reason for that is UConn doesn't have the ability to cover mobile bigs, and Duke has
Cameron Boozer
do whatever. Like Cam Boozer, man.
Yeah.
The Boozer brothers are where it's at, man.
Yeah.
Those guys, they can play ball.
And also, I want to say this too: St. John's being a 5 was a huge underseed in this tournament.
Yeah,
very
huge underseed in this tournament.
Yeah, the fact that they won the Big East regular season championship and then the conference championship, and they still ended up as a 5 seed is crazy to me.
It is crazy to me too. But with that being said, we got the St. John's stuff out of the way. I got Duke in the Natty against Arizona. This is where I differ from Jacob. The Blue Devils will be cutting down the nets in Indy this year. I like Cameron Boozer's weight. Like Cameron Boozer, is probably my pick for the Wooden Award right now. He's such a dominant player. And I think he'll control the pace of that game like he did against Michigan. Cameron Boozer will control the game. I think Caden Boozer, if he has to play extended minutes, will be just fine. I know Bradley's a really great defender. I know Arizona's got great guard play, but I like the Duke. I like Evans. I like Boozer. I like my Malik Brown coming off the bench like as a defender as well. I
feel like that'd just be a great game, and I feel like if I were to take my Arizona bias, I would lean a little heavily more towards Duke just because of their defense. And you have a guy who could come off the bench who won Defensive Player of the Year, and he the great thing about him, the weird thing about Brown, he's not much of a shot blocker, but he gets like steals like nobody's business as a big, which is weird to me. So it's like. It's sort of that, and then I think I would counter with even though Boozer can control the pace of the game, you kind of saw in the Virginia game if you can prevent him from getting in the paint into the post because he's very effective out of the post. Yeah. I feel like if you can prevent that and sort of just jam up the lanes, and Arizona does that better than probably most teams in this nation, though. Yeah. So I feel like you get that. I feel like Arizona. That's why I would favor Arizona a little bit more. But I see why you picked them up. I understand that. Yeah,
because I just ever since I was relying upon Michigan was the stepping stone for me for most of the year. They were the stepping stone team. Like, okay, if they can keep up this pace of play, they're going to be the heavy favorite coming out. Then the Duke game in DC, I was like, okay, this Duke team is getting back in my good graces because that was after the North Carolina loss, a couple games after the North Carolina loss. And I was like, okay, Duke might not be what we thought.
Duke and it was a neutral court too, so nobody had the advantage.
No one had home court. No one had home court. It was well traveled from both teams. I would say that.
Both fan bases.
For a mid-season game this late in the season, it was remarkable. Yeah, attendance.
Yeah,
there.
So. That game was my measuring stone, and I was like, okay, so Duke, if they keep playing like this, they're going to be a really strong team in March, and that's what we got. We got them winning the 8th, cutting down the nets, and North Carolina the other day against UVA, and I think Duke is one of those teams this year that I could see winning it. I could see Arizona winning it, like you have, Jacob.
Yeah.
I know Jerry picked Purdue because he loves Purdue.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, Jerry.
Pull her up, baby.
We respect it.
More
We
likely
respect
that Queens, North Carolina is going to beat them in the first round.
No, it ain't gonna be another one of those. I promise you.
I think Purdue at least makes the Sweet 16. I don't know about the Final Four, but like I said, I think if Braden Smith plays well, they'll be okay.
I cut out. That's on me. Sorry about that, y'all. So anyway, I think we got our picks in. One last thing before we wrap up here. Pick for most outstanding, let me rephrase that. Who's going to be the Steph Curry in this tournament? Carrying a team that you don't think can go far, or but might surprise people and make a slight Elite Eight run. I'll give mine first real quick. It'd be Darius A. Cup Jr. from Arkansas.
I mean, that's kind of the obvious one. I'm trying to think the less obvious ones.
Well, that's why
I got one.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jerry.
The freshman, I know he's young, but Keaton Wagler from Illinois, man. I think if he can pick up his pace and play the way he played against Purdue, man, they could make a run in the tournament, definitely.
Yep. All right, Jacob.
I'm trying to think. For me, I'm trying to think outside of what y'all pick, because y'all are picking kind of the obvious ones. I'm trying to think somebody who I would say Thomas Folks for UCF. I would say that, and I know everybody's just well, you're picking all the Big 12. You're allowing these Big 12 biases to come in. Yeah, I watched every game this season for Big 12. Every one of these teams is good in the tournament. So I feel like Thomas Folks definitely is one of those, just because I think he scored 39 against us when we played against him earlier in the season. Yeah. And so I just feel like he's somebody who, as soon as he gets on a burner, watch out. So I feel like if he's I feel like he'd be the Steph Curry of this tournament.
Yes. I like that. That is one that is the pure definition of the question. What me and Jerry picked are teams that people know, because people didn't know Davidson really.
He did what he did. Yeah.
So and they know
Davidson
UCF,
on the map.
They know UCF, but at the same time, it's do they know what they're capable of as a 10 seed? Probably not. So that is a good shout. Another good shout is who's the guy from Akron? There's a guy from Akron that can score really well too. I can't remember his name. I don't
know either. I can't remember either.
I know there's a guy in Akron that can light up the court. While I look that up, I'll let y'all give some other thoughts on the tournament real quick.
Jerry, you got any other ones? I'm still trying to think of some from mine.
I'm looking up the stat right now, brother. Give me 1 second, guys.
I would say the other one, if I had to put one more in, I'd say Jeremy Fears Jr. for Michigan State.
That's that one.
Just because he fills up the box score so much, and his shot making abilities and his passing abilities are just almost. It's kind of Braden Smith-esque. I feel like he's a little bit better for scorer than Braden Smith, but I feel like if he's hot and Michigan State is able to get, if Collar is able to be the big man they need him to be, I feel like they'll make a deep run.
I found the Akron player that I was looking for.
Who?
What's his name, buddy?
Tavari Johnson.
Okay, yeah.
Watch out for Johnson. If he gets hot in this tournament and pulls off, the 12-5 upset in that game against Texas Tech, and they get on a run, and it's all because of Johnson, that is a name to shout out. He's averaging 20 points a game this season.
Yeah.
So that was the guy I was thinking of. That was a smaller name other than Darius A. Cup. Darius A. Cup is going to be probably that guy for me. Like you said, it was a Kingston Fleming Invitational. This could be a Darius A. Cup Jr. Invitational too.
Nick Boyd, man, we also got to look out for him from Wisconsin. He's another guy that can just take over.
Well, I didn't say his name because I don't want him to have a good tournament, because then he'll play us. And
I know.
So I don't want that to happen. The PTSD, Frank Kaminsky, Sam Decker, those two names are forever ingrained in my brain, and I don't want to add Nick Boyd in there now.
Yeah, and then
Robbie
Robbie Avila,
buddy.
Robbie Avila also from St. Louis, like I shouted out earlier.
Yeah. That's a good one.
You got to shout out him. They should have made the Indiana State should have made the tournament a couple years ago with him, and now they did the same coach and the same team made the tournament here at St. Louis as the regular season A-10 champ. So shout out Robbie Avila and St. Louis again. Those are some picks from us. Feel free to comment some down below when you watch this video of guys that are underrated heading into this tournament. And remember to like, comment, subscribe, and get notifications on the YouTube for Total Apex Sports. And on Total Apex Media, we have the regular show on Tuesday nights with everything like the entertainment. Entertainment this week has got the Oscars. So that would be a big show. And everything like that. Me and Andrew have some other stuff too on our sports segment with the Women's Month. We have our Women's Month pick. We will get a poll out shortly too. Feel free to vote on that and everything like that. I'll still shout out my picks of probably Don Staley and Delia Deladon. Give a quick rundown on those, and then we'll do the pick that y'all voted for on the community tab. We'll put it out probably within the next couple of days on there on the YouTube if we can do that. I'm trying to think what else out in the next Friday show on the podcast. We'll probably recap the World Baseball Classic on there. The final already played, which we had a shocker in the quarterfinals last night.
Very big shocker.
Yeah.
So we'll break that down on next Friday's show. As well as other some of the first four and some of the games heading into the weekend of the NCAA tournament and stuff like that, and the Players Championship too. I would like to highlight that because I think whoever won, they got to figure out who won that today because that was the final round. What happened earlier today?
Yeah.
Women's tournament too. We'll highlight a little bit more on Tuesday's show. Just a little bit quick breakdown on that. I'll just give my picks on that, on who is going to win the tournament. I think UConn. I'll give a preview of it right now. UConn's probably my favorite to win the women's tournament.
Yeah.
I think they're the best team right now. I like.
That's not a bad pick.
Yeah. That's a really underrated pick there, Brandon. You really have to dive deep for that one.
I'll give you this underrated pick though. If JMU gets a good matchup in the first round, watch them make a run to this. Maybe make a run to the Sweet 16 in the tournament.
Honestly, if I had to pick for women's, I would probably go the Gamecocks just because I live in South Carolina.
They're coming in a little rocky. They lost the SEC championship at 20.
Yeah, they did. I don't know. I like Don Staley. She's built a great program over there.
That's why I'm shouting her.
Don Staley's a great coach. One of the best ever do it.
In that woman.
Also, keep an eye on UCLA's Lauren Betts too. And UCLA, they're probably going to be a 1 seed in this tournament after winning the Big Ten.
Yeah. They're going to be.
Also, guys, make sure you guys turn in on Thursday for the Total Apex Wrestling podcast. We're going to be talking Revolution. We're going to be talking Road to WrestleMania stuff. So definitely tune in with me and Nick and Brandon on Thursday night at 7.
Thursday.
Yeah, just if I want to add one more thing in here, and just visit our sports site, Total Apex Sports. This week is going to be a big week with the March Madness, so keep an eye out for previews, recaps, and anything and everything college basketball related.
Exactly. That Nick has been running. He's already got all the first round matchups on our tracker right now too. So we can get. We'll have some previews.
We hired some new writers too, so we'll definitely have some more coverage on first round, second round, and all that for this week.
Yes, it's going to be. And I got the women's bracket on right now. Ironically enough, they're doing the Fort Worth Regional 1 at Fort Worth. Vanderbilt's in that region, for what I see right now. Illinois is the 7th seed in that region. Ohio's the 3 seed. Notre Dame's the 6th seed. They already revealed the top.
Who's the top seed in that region?
UConn. UConn, they just did UConn. So UConn, Iowa State, Syracuse are 8-9. Maryland's the 5. North Carolina's the 4. And what I mentioned earlier. So
Yeah.
They just broke down that first Fort Worth regional. The women's tournament's different from the men's. They don't have each top 4 seeds in each region host the first 2 rounds, and then they go from the Sweet 16 on.
Then they go to neutral.
Then they go to neutral sites. Yeah.
So the women's tournament's a lot harder to win. They're like for an underdog Cinderella kind of.
Cinderellas don't usually happen in the women's bracket
tournament
as much as the men's, just because
of the home court, and like normally the teams that are top seeds are normally like the better teams.
Yeah.
But like I said, keep an eye, especially what the bracketology said. I'm going to shout this out real quick as a JMU alum. Shauna Regan and the James Madison Dukes could be facing off against the Kentucky Wildcats, coached by former JMU women's basketball coach Kenny Brooks, who is from the small town, kind of near small city, just about like 2 minutes down the road from where I live right now. It's in Waynesburg, Virginia.
If we're talking about those unique matchups, keep an eye out in the West region for a potential Arizona-Gonzaga matchup with Tommy Lloyd going up against his former team that he was assistant coach for 20 years. So keep an eye out for that one.
Yes, exactly. With the Gonzaga, with Mark Few. Yeah,
exactly.
That would be that's a fun little matchup too in the men's tournament that could happen. Yeah. Other matchups like that could happen. Obviously, you got your Rick Barnes in Tennessee and all that, like the long-term head coaches and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. You got Cal Perry, and you got a lot of fun young coaches and old coaches in this men's tournament that you never know what the matchup is going to be. But the connection I kind of you brought up with that Arizona and Gonzaga matchup, if it happens, that is a fun one. UCLA is the 1 seed in the Sacramento regional, this regional 2.
Okay.
So, like I said, hey, speaking of California Baptist, both men's and women's teams made the tournament this year. So,
what is Baptist for women's? What seed are they?
They're the 16 against UCLA.
Oh, okay. Jeez, okay.
They're the 16.
Yeah, the men's team. The men's one has the more favorable one. Jesus.
Yeah. No. UCLA is gonna, but at least California Baptist gets to go to Los Angeles.
They're gonna hang their hat on that. That's cool. But
they
what a tough card.
I'm surprised to see the Notre Dame women's team got a 6th seed in the tournament.
Yeah, they had an up and down year.
Very up and down.
A little bit, yeah.
But they got the 6th seed. We'll have updates on Totally Apex Sports for the women's tournament as well. Like I said, on this show here, I'll give some highlight on the Tuesday show. I'll give some highlights of that. I don't want to go on too long and wait for the bracket and everything like that. They're doing the whole reveal now on ESPN and everything. But with that being said, guys, thanks for tuning in to this show. Remember, like I said, comment, subscribe, get those notifications. And read the articles on Totally Apex Sports.
Yeah, keep glued to our site, man. We're going to be updating that every single day.
Every single day throughout the rest of the month.
Every single hour. Check us out, guys. Every single day, though. Yeah.
Yeah. With that being said, socials real quick, guys. Highlight y'all socials.
At Sports Junkie 17 on Twitter, and you can find me on Naptown Sports Plug on YouTube and Jay Harkins on Facebook.
Yeah. And then for me, you can find me on JD Perrine 24 on Instagram. I also have links on my Instagram to all of my stuff, including my muck rack, where I have every single article I've ever written on there. So if you want to just catch up before I write some more about March Madness, go right ahead. But that's pretty much all my socials.
And then my X handle's on the screen there at 30B Ellis. Also Ellis Highlight Reel on YouTube. And TikTok, I'll be sharing shorts and stuff like that on there from time to time. Also, I got Instagram, I got Facebook, whatever you just look up Brandon Ellis on those 2 platforms, you'll find me as well. And with that being said, this has been the Total Apex Sports special show for the men's bracket. And I'll just say this: peace.
Peace.
Later.